Pilani, Hindu College, Delhi University, and Jamia Millia Ismailia, New Delhi. Sir has had a distinguished academic career. He's graduated in political science from Delhi University. As part of his master's, he joined JMI and secured first position in the university in MA in Human Rights. Later, he also enrolled for PhD in Strategic Studies from Pune University. Sir joined the Indian Army in June 1981 and was commissioned in merchandise infantry and later transferred to military intelligence. He has had a checkered career and has served long tenures in Jammu and Kashmir. He is a recipient of 3 distinguished awards for his contributions to operational service, including award of Sena Medal and 2 COAS commendations. Later, he served at Army headquarters, handling highly coveted and sensitive assignments. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and I would like you to share your words of wisdom to all the delegates who have joined us today. Yes, sir. So your voice is cracking a bit. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Sorry to interrupt. There is something wrong with your audio. Um, it's coming very slow. The volume is very low. The delegates are not able to hear properly.
So I see a lot of messages in the chat, so thank you everyone for that. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I want to make a note just quickly that my research is, well, upsetting. So
good afternoon, sir. It's very faint.
So you can use your headphones if you have. No, sir, you're not audible. You can rejoin it again, sir. Uh, Gati kya hai? You can call sir and can guide
Yes,
him,
I'll uh, I'll I'll do that.
or he can rejoin it again. You can tell.
Uh, Sir, you're not audible. Your voice is not audible. You can like try rejoining once because your voice is very frail for all of us to hear.
There might be a audio settings problem.
Mm. Sir, it's still the same. We can't like hear you properly.
Gatik, I would request you to just address the audience till the time sir
Yes,
joins
ma'am.
back.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Till the time Sir joins, I request every one of you to rename yourselves to your country and turn on your cameras, please. Okay, we have Sir back. No, sir, we still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Now you're audible to
Sir,
everyone.
loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. So I was basically mentioning that in order to understand the contention of the South China Sea and its significance, it is first imperative to understand the geopolitical importance of Asia, which has given rise to Chinese preeminence, enabling its rise to contemporary major political power on the global stage. The global focus of economic power has traditionally been centered over the West, with the UK and the USA as the key contributors. However, in recent years, this has shifted east, that is, towards India and China, with the main reason for this being rapid urbanization in developing countries, in particularly China. As a result of this shift, China now seeks to control the sea lanes of communication to ensure national prosperity and continue economic growth and national greatness. The South China Sea plays a massive part in it. Now, let's understand as to what is the strategic importance of South China Sea. The South China Sea, as you all know, consists of over 200 tiny islands, reefs, shoals, atolls, and sandbanks grouped in three archipelagi. That is basically three group of islands. That is the Spratleys, the Paracels, and the Pratas. Now, Macclesfield Bank and the Scarborough Shoal. The strategic importance of this is mainly due to its geographical location, as the area is one of the world's busiest and most strategic shipping lane. More than 50% of the world trade passes through the Strait of Malacca, the Sunda Strait, the Lombok Strait, over the islands and waters to the South China Sea, amounting to approximately 5 trillion US dollars. More importantly, it also covers the most crucial energy routes for East Asian countries to transport oil and natural gas from the Persian Gulf. Therefore, South China Sea has geopolitical and geostrategical importance for the energy and economic security of China and East Asian countries. Not only that, it also has importance for United States, where approximately 1.2 trillion worth of its trade moves. And it has again and again been proven that oil and gas reserves are the main element for which everybody is seeking control. Now, in 2010, the US declared the freedom of navigation in the South China Sea to be of national interest in response to China's increasing assertive posture. Vietnam and Philippines also sought to enhance their strategic position over South China Sea disputes. And if you have been following the newspapers very, very closely, last couple of days has also seen the Philippines and the Chinese in a standoff in South China Sea. Therefore, what is happening is the USA is here playing a key role in influencing the resolution of the disputes and in providing support to all the countries that are impacted by China's aggressiveness in South China Sea. Now, it is likely that China will continue to assert its rights and assertiveness in the South China Sea, which will continue to upset the regional stability of the region, thereby also enhancing the sphere of influence of China. Now, the USA has a direct connection to the area through various allies, connections, and trade, and this will also naturally continue. Due to the strategic importance of the area, China will continue to establish a maritime power as the most dominant player among states in the region. Now, it is also plausible that the Chinese strategy could have a long-term goal of possessing the power to deny US and the Western warships access to South China Sea, with China largely laying claims to most of the area as its own water. Now, this is problematic. Now, what is the increasing projection of power that you see China doing in South China Sea? Now, it has shown the most considerable increase in projection of power from the states surrounding the South China Sea, and it has increased its military budget by approximately 8.5% in recent years. And this is likely to continue for the near future. And if you look towards the Chinese military modernization, it has carried out structural reforms. It has established a joint operating command and 5 new theater commands, namely the Northern, Eastern, Southern, Western, and Central. So it has completely revolutionized its armed forces. Now, if you see the Chinese spending, it has had an significant increase in its budget. China was always isolationist. That means it was isolated from the global sphere because of the Iron Curtain that it exercised its control very, very tightly. But lately, it has started to open up. China never had a deep water navy. Now it is laying special emphasis on developing its naval power. And you must all be aware that it has launched its first aircraft carrier known as Liaoning. And it is a noteworthy change from its earlier soft power kind of a projection that it used to make towards a very, very hard power kind of a nation. More and more, we see a particularly aggressive maritime stance from China towards NATO, US, and Australian warships who have been talking about the freedom of navigation through the South China Sea. Now, since 2009, China has growingly asserted its influence by enforcing an annual fishing ban, conducting regular maritime patrols, undertaking scientific surveys, and conducting military exercises in the disputed islands and waters. It has also known that it is providing military training to the fishermen who operate under the Chinese flags through their ships into the South China Sea. Now, as sovereignty over the South China Sea involves China's economic, energy, and national security, it is highly likely that the increased projection of maritime power, insofar as China is concerned, will continue in South China Sea. China can exert complete control over the region using predominantly the maritime domain. It can build a significant strategic sphere of influence and power. No other country, state in the region can match this increase in projection and rival China because of the economic strength it has gained over the last approximately 4 to 5 decades. Now, several countries in the area, that includes China, Taiwan, Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia, they have been claiming overlapping sovereignty over a good number of islands and maritime rights in that particular region. Now, the area is not only restricted to the exclusive economic zones of these countries, but expands much beyond that. Now, China's claim over the legal status and maritime rights over the EEZ of these exclusive countries is particularly troublesome. Chinese patrol boats and have been visiting this area. It has been preventing countries like Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam opposing the oil exploration that these countries want to carry out in the South China Sea. But its most aggressive stance has been towards Taiwan, where it has shown increasing aggression by deploying its military capabilities, namely the air power as well as the naval power. Now, it has also increased the construction of artificial islands over the disputed Spratleys and Paracels in the South China Sea, causing an escalation of tensions, upsetting stability. These islands are large enough for military runways as well as the surface-to-air missiles, which China has done in large numbers. China has also constructed more than 3,000 acres of artificial islands. And you may say that this is not illegal, but something which is not morally correct. And it also somewhere shows the intimidating display of wealth and power that it has acquired over the last approximately 4 to 5 decades. The building of military facilities has continued, and USA and its three major allies, that is namely the Japanese, the Australian, New Zealand, etc., have been extremely troubled by this, because what China is doing, it is carrying out increased surveillance of assets and conducting flights over South China Sea, which has become extremely uncomfortable. Now, as far as the future is concerned, China is likely to continue to project its power in the South China Sea, as well as to blunt the US presence in this particular region, with European geopolitics currently dominating the media as well as the world opinion. The stance from this side is likely to shift. As far as India is concerned, it is increasingly troublesome for India to be living in the region, because South China Sea also impacts India to a large extent, but also towards our northern borders, where China has tried to alter the status quo that existed over the last approximately 4 odd years. And if you would recollect, Prime Minister Modi was the first one to say that the era of expansionism has gone, but China doesn't seem to be relenting and continuing to pursue its expansionist designs and making inroads into South China Sea. That's insofar as today's topic is concerned. I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Delegates, all of you who have a question can raise your hands on the Zoom and we'll recognize you one by one.
Sir, I have a question if you don't mind.
Yes, Avigna, you may go ahead.
Sir, I have a question that do you think that deployment of many vessels troops in the South China Sea by both the sides, China and the
No, you are not clear. Can you wait a minute? Let me put on my earplugs. Just a minute. Yeah. No, I guess. Yeah, tell me your question.
Sir, like we know that the both of the sides, like China, the Chinese and the American side, are sending many
I can't. It is, your sound is echoing.
one second. So am I audible now?
Yeah, better.
Sir, I have a question that, as we know, both the American and the Chinese sides are sending their vessels and military to the South China Sea to claim their dominance of the area. So, and we know that it is not good for the trade and the political situation over the region. So, how do you think that this situation should be resolved?
No, what is the last part?
So we know that the military is not good for the South in the South China Sea because it impacts our it not only impacts our geopolitical situation but also trade and other factors also. So how do you think that this should be combated?
How should they? It is not good for the trade. And how should they? What was the last part?
How should this be resolved without sending militaries?
See, China's assertiveness insofar as its economic power is its concern, it is almost complete. And as I said earlier, President Xi's key note, I would say, focus is on the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. Now, Belt and Road Initiative, it has carried out through construction of roads, whereas land borders are connecting. But wherever the land borders are not there, this expansion is through the maritime sea routes. That means it would want to continue dominating the sea routes that supply it oil from the Gulf to the eastern part of China through the South China Sea. So this projection will continue till there is some kind of a stability between the relations in USA and China. Right now, it doesn't appear so because both sides are hardening their stance. But how the geopolitics evolves is a matter of time. Let's see how it shapes up in the days to come.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. How will you feel about in the future of China and India in coming years?
Future of China
And India.
and India, I think insofar as India and China are concerned, there has been a hardening of positions from the Indian side as well, because India is not likely to accept any dominance of China, whether it is the border areas, unless China changes its policy of stopping to claim the Indian territories. This kind of a hardening of position from India will continue.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. I had a question that even after the ignorance of China for particularly the arbitral ruling of Philippines versus China in the UNCLOS case, what actions need to be considered by other superpowers? For example, a military intervention by US need to be modified by them to actually resolve the issue of Asian conflicts.
Well, let me tell you, military intervention doesn't help anywhere. We already are in a conflict situation insofar as Russia and Ukraine are concerned. You see, in the last 4 days, another front has opened in the Middle East. And as far as Philippines is concerned, the islands are so close to one another that not only between Philippines and China, there are disputes between all the countries in the region because of the exercising of their exclusive economic zones and where they can carry out their exploration. Because the key asset that is available in South China Sea is the oil and gas. And that is what everybody is rushing to tap in. Now, unfortunately, what happens that in this scenario, China is the dominating power. It has the economic power. It has expanded its military, and it would want to tap into those resources. Now, if you would say that there's likely to be a conflict between any of the countries, it is unlikely. So in the days to come, it will only be hardening of positions and nothing more. If you also see that between Philippines and the Chinese, their ships came almost close to one another. But then that is the kind of a situation of power projection. Each side continues to show its power as to how they can dominate that particular area. So this kind of a standoff is likely to continue in the days to come.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Are there any more questions? Who's the moderator?
No, sir, there are no more hands raised. Delegates, are there any more questions that you have to ask to sir? Okay. So there are no more questions, but thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with us and sharing your information about this vast agenda that all of us will be deliberating upon for 3 days. Your insights will help us all a lot and will help us like go deep into the topic more and will give a brief to all the delegates about what they are debating upon for the next 3 days. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure speaking to you all. God bless you, and I hope you have a fruitful discussion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
I had a doubt with the EB.
Okay, delegates, give me 1 minute, right? Before we'll take all the doubts. Okay. Firstly, I would like everyone to rename themselves to their country's name. So it's country's name, then underscore their own name. I'll put the format in the chat for everyone once again. Follow that. That is must. Okay. So everyone must follow this. So rename to that. Then, secondly, I request every one of you to turn on your cameras. It is much better if every one of you have your cameras on so that the session, it is much better if all of you have your cameras on so that the session's more interactive, right? So like it is very important. Then one more request, if you can, please put a virtual background of your country's flag that's for the delegates. So if possible, can you please put your country's flag as your virtual background if it is possible? Yes, Delegate Ecuador, your portfolio, that is Ecuador, underscore your name. You may write the full name or just the first name. That's not a problem. But your country's name first, underscore your name. Okay. With this, I would like to introduce myself. So I'm Gatik Yadav. I'll be your chair for the next 3 days of this committee, right? Along with me, we have Avigna and Ahmad. Ahmad will be serving as a vice president of the committee, and Avigna will be the rapporteur for the next 3 days, right? Okay. With that, Ahmad or Avigna, if you have anything to say to the committee before we start.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. I'll be serving as your vice president for this committee of Security Council and hoping to see a very heated and hopefully a fruitful debate towards the end with tangible solutions for such a committee. All the best, everyone.
Greetings everyone, I'm Asegna. I will be serving as the rapporteur, and I hope that this committee goes well and everyone has a great time. Best of luck, everyone.
Okay, similarly on that stance, I wish that we all have a very fruitful session at the end of 3 days. It is like it is a good learning process for all of us, not only you, the delegates, but for all of us, the executive board members as well. Also, one more thing before we start, is my voice clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so considering this is an online conference, it is really important that we are all able to hear each other. So if in any case you're not able to hear someone, and if he's giving a speech, right, don't interrupt him, but put it in the chat box so that if it is the same problem for quite a few of you, then it is probably from the speaker's side, and then we'll tell him to rectify the same, right? Okay. Anyone has any doubts? Like some of you had some doubts, right? So you can ask them right now.
Yes, I had one doubt.
One thing, sorry. Just raise your hand. So raise your virtual hands on Zoom. We'll recognize you through that. So that is the rule for the whole conference. You raise your hands over Zoom and we recognize all of you. Okay. We have the United States of America.
Yeah, I had a doubt that when in the recognition sheet, would the raising of motion consider as a recognition?
We'll go over the marking scheme once and for all for everyone. We'll tell you that with that. Okay. Yes, Delegate of United Kingdom.
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted a clarification since many of the disputed countries in the South China Sea are not present in the conference. Could you please clarify as to how the committee would proceed?
Delegate, so considering that, right, since they're not present, so we can't like make up countries at this point. The only scenario we have is, like if you have to like any points you have, you can say that in your speech. That is allowed. Like you can counter them, you can criticize them, you can support whatever points you have, you can say that. But obviously they can't be involved in the draft resolution process. Like they can't be involved in your joint statements and stuff in terms of like you can't partner with them and things. So they can't be in your individual documents. They can't be a sponsor or signatory in the draft resolution. Obviously, you can give suggestive measures and like even measures to them, because at the end of the day, if the resolution is passed, it is a resolution from the UNSC, not from a particular group of countries. So then it is must for all of the countries to follow them. So you can do that. You can include them everywhere, but obviously there's no one to represent that side. But that's not a problem. You give your points. With that, so as I just cleared that every one of you must like raise your hands through Zoom so that we can hear you. Also, I request everyone to recognize the presence of our Honorable Chef.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jyoti ma'am.
Good afternoon. Namaskar.
Ma'am, with your permission, may we continue with the session?
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So as I said, now we'll go over the marking scheme for all of you so that you're clear about what you all are being marked upon throughout the 3 days and you know where you have to like work upon. So for us, the marking sheet would consist of your foreign policy, right? You can obviously be like you can amend your foreign policy a bit, right? Because this is an SC. At the end of the day, to reach a consensus or to reach a solution, we all have to make negotiations. That's understandable. We will make sure of that. But you can't go against the principles of your country, foreign policy or principles of what your countries follows. So you must make sure that you don't go against that. That's what you will be marked upon. You will be marked upon all of your speeches. You will be marked upon your points of information. You will be marked upon the documentations that you submit and like logical analysis, guidance to debate, and all of that. Apart from that, as far as recognition goes, a recognition for a speech, a recognition for a point of information, and a recognition for a motion will all be separate. So they won't interfere with each other. So a recognition of the speech list will be separate. A recognition list for your POIs will be separate. A recognition list for your recognition for motion will be separate. The list will be updated throughout the committee and it will be shared on the WhatsApp group that you guys are on. Is everyone here on the WhatsApp group for the committee? Just raise your hands if you're not there. Okay, so I don't see any hands raised with that. Okay, so we'll share the recognition sheet at the end of the day in the group. You can check that. It will be updated. If you have like for the first day, it might not be the same for everyone, but by the end of the second day, it must like it should be same for everyone. If there is still some problem related to recognition, you can obviously contact us on Zoom chat or even on like my numbers there on the WhatsApp group. You can contact over there and we will obviously rectify your issue. Okay. With that, are there any more doubts in the committee? Like related to anything for now? Just raise your hand so that we can, yes, you will.
Could you just clarify the documentation you'll be accepting for the conference days?
Okay, so there will be all forms of documentation in terms of individual documents, right? So you can make your individual documents, or even in a group, you can submit a joint statement, a working paper, a plan of action, or anything like that, a press release. That will all be marked. But the committee ending document would be different. It depends on all of you, whatever you decide upon to make the committee ending document as, but preferably it should be a draft resolution. And that would be marked separately. So the all the documents will be marked once, and the draft resolution will be marked separately. If you guys decide to do that, if you guys don't decide to do that, decide on something else, or don't even want to make a committee ending document, just want to continue with debate, that's understandable. That's all upon you guys. We don't want to interrupt with that, right? Is that fine?
Just one thing. So you'll be accepting any kind of documentation after, like, there isn't a specific time we could submit the documentation. We are free to submit at any time, right?
We'll let you know. So there is a mail that you guys have to mail all your documents to. We'll put that in the chat box. We'll put that in the WhatsApp group as well. We'll let you know when we guys start accepting that. Before we'll we'll let you know, because even we have to like start with the committee.
Okay, sure.
Also with that, any more doubts? Yes, Delegate of Malta.
Could you please just give a very brief disclaimer a bit? I'm sorry about that.
I didn't hear you. Could you repeat yourself? I'm really sorry.
Could you give us a very brief summary on what we agreed on? Just short bullet points of it, because I disconnected a bit.
Okay, so we just discussed about what documents we are going to do in the committee and the marking scheme, like, or what all would be considered for the marking scheme, right? So the marking scheme would be your speeches, your foreign policy, your your basically points of information that you ask in the committee, the logical analysis and the guidance to debate that you give to the committee, and then your documents. As far as documents go, we allow all forms of individual documents. That is your joint statements, working papers, plan of actions. You can do it yourself or in a group. That is not a problem. As far as a committee ending document go, right? Or like a draft resolution, that's up to you guys. If you want to do it, we can do that. If you don't want to do that and continue with debate or do something else, that's fine. That's all on the committee. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
With this, are there any, okay, yes, Delegate of Brazil.
Good afternoon, Chair. So I had a question regarding the points of order. So firstly, are points of order going to be marked, and if they are going to be marked, then will you take it like written or verbally?
So there are no chits in the committee, to be clear. There are no chits at all. So everything that's going to happen is going to be verbal, right? As far as points of orders go, okay, we'll have points of order, right? That so if we, in case, like, just to be clear, whatever we have in the committee is obviously going to be marked. So like the only reason is with points of orders, the problem is sometimes people just raise points of orders instead of a point of information. They don't use them for the purpose they have. Or sometimes it's like the points of order become too much, and then like most of the committee's time is wasted upon how a point of order is in order or out of order, like just justifying it to the delegates, right? So we'll allow points of orders, but if that's the case, wherein points of orders are becoming too redundant and like are there but are not giving any value to the committee, then we will stop them.
All right.
Then the marking will be adjusted accordingly if some have been marked before. We'll do that. But yes, if they're becoming redundant. So if you have a point of order, we'll have them. But be careful while raising them that the point of order should actually be a point of order.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Any more doubts? Okay, with that, we'll start with the roll call for today. Ahmed, could you do the roll call?
Yeah, sure. So delegates, we'll be starting with the roll call for the day one. Delegate of Albania. Delegate of Albania. Delegate of Brazil.
Present and voting.
Okay. Delegate of People's Republic of China.
Present and voting.
Delegate of Ecuador.
Present and
Delegate of
voting.
Ecuador. Okay, thank you. Delegate of France.
Present.
Delegate, could you please repeat your stance?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Delegate of Gabon. Delegate of Gabon.
Yes.
Delegate, could you please specify your stance? Is present or present in voting?
Can you repeat, please?
Delegate, could you please repeat your stance? It's either present or present and voting.
We don't understand. The Wi-Fi is not very good.
Delegate, are you able to hear me?
A little bit.
Okay. Sorry, Ahmed, you could mark them present for now. If we can ask them over chat.
Cool. After that, delegate of Ghana.
Present in voting.
Thank you. Delegate of Japan. Delegate of Japan. Delegate of Malta. Delegate of Malta. Delegate of Mozambique.
Present and voting.
Present.
Delegate of the Russian Federation.
Present and voting.
Delegate of Switzerland.
Present and voting.
Delegate of the United Arab Emirates.
Present and voting.
Delegate of the United Kingdom of Great Britain.
Present and voting.
Delegate of United States of America.
Present and voting.
And lastly, the delegate of Philippines.
Present and voting.
Okay.
Just to be clear, is delegate of Albania, are you present?
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. I'm present and voting.
Okay. Also, delegate of Japan. Delegate of Malta.
Present and voting. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have 13 delegates present in the committee. With this, the simple majority for the committee is 8, and the special majority would be 10. So, for you guys to like pass any motion, you guys need 8 votes, and for you guys to pass a draft resolution in general, you guys need 2/3 of the majority. That is 10 votes for this committee. With this, considering the fact that you guys, so like this is on a very informal note, I would like to ask you guys, Considering you guys didn't have the time to prepare for or like discuss among yourselves for moderated caucus topics, do you guys want an unmod from by the EB's discretion and do that and then we start with the committee, or do you guys want us to start with the committee and then have an unmod later?
We could have an unmod right now.
Or raise your hands, delegate, so that. Yes, delegate of United States of America, followed by delegate of Malta.
We could have the unmod right now if it's possible.
Or delegate of Malta.
I prefer if we start with the committee session first and then we do the unmod.
Okay. So we'll just have a vote upon it. Delegates in the favor of having an unmod right now, please raise your hands. Or delegates in the favor of having starting the committee session now and later having an unmod. Okay. We have 9 people for that, so we will be starting off with the committee session. Delegates, are there any motions on the floor? Okay. Delegates, are there any motions on the floor? Yes, delegate of United States.
Yeah, the delegate of United States of America would like to establish the agenda as just a second. Yeah, the delegate of USA would like to establish the agenda as expansionism, protecting power and territorial disputes in the South China Sea.
Oh, okay, that motion is in order. Delegates who second the motion. Delegates against. Okay. Delegates for the motion. Delegates against. We have 9 people voting in the committee, although this motion had 8 votes for it to pass. But still, there are 9 people voting in the committee. So just to be clear with every one of you, all of you need to vote over motions, regardless of whatever roll call was. Motions are procedural. Everyone has to vote during procedural votings. You can't abstain from voting. Also, this is the motion for setting up the agenda, the same one that has already been decided for the committee. So I don't think there is like any questions that you guys must have related to that, right? Anyway, this motion passed with 8 votes. Okay, any more motions on the floor? Any other delegate, any other delegate from apart from delegate of United States? Okay, yes, delegate of United States, you're recognized.
The delegate of USA would like to establish a general speakers list with individual speakers time being 90 seconds.
Okay. Delegates seconding the motion. Delegates against. Delegates in favor of the motion. Or delegates in opposition? This motion passes with 13 votes. We have now entered a general speakers list with the individual speakers' time being 90 seconds. Also, one more thing that the executive board had decided is that to have considering this committee is a very small committee with only 13 delegates, like only 16 members and only 13 of you present today. So even if you complete your time of 90 seconds for the speech, we will still be giving you the provision to entertain 1 point of information to your speech in addition to the time. If you guys have more time left, then you can entertain more points of information. But this is just so that we can have much more debate in the committee. With that, we would now be recognizing yes, Delegate of America, what point?
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Delegate.
In the GSL, considering that the United States raised the motion, is it applicable that United States will be the first speaker?
Okay, Delegate, we'll take you as the first speaker. Ahmad, could you recognize the speakers for the general speakers list?
Yeah, sure. I'll be recognizing the general speakers list delegates. So kindly raise your hands. Whoever wishes to speak for the general speakers list. Starting with Russian Federation. The delegate of UAE. Ghana. Brazil. Switzerland. China. A delegate of Switzerland, you have been recognized. Delegate of UK. Delegate of Mozambique. Delegate of France. And delegate of Ecuador. So we have 11 speakers on the list, the general speakers list. Yeah, got it. Starting with the United States of America.
Just before
Delegates, please
Yeah.
recognize the presence of Secretary General Arman Kuman and Sumit sir.
Sumit sir, with your permission, can we continue?
Can you repeat? I was.
So we recognize your presence to the committee. So I was asking with
Thank
your
you.
permission,
Sorry.
could
Actually,
we continue?
I am simultaneously in 2 committees. So
Yes, sir. I understand. I understand you. Yes, sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, delegates, before we before we start with the general speakers list, you're just like a minute, we would take a minute before that. So till then you guys can just like go through your speeches and everything. Just give the executive board a minute. Okay, fine. Even Delegate of Japan, are you present in the meeting now? Is the Delegate of Japan in the meeting? And just to be okay. So we don't have Delegate of Japan in the meeting still. That's not a problem. With that, okay. With this, we'll now be starting off with the general speakers list. The first speaker recognized is the delegate of USA. Delegate of USA.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes. You have the floor for 90 seconds. Just give us a second. Sorry. Avigna, could you share the timer on the screen for everyone?
Just a second.
Should I start?
Delegate, as soon as this timer start, we'll let you know. We're just setting up the stopwatches. Yes, Delegate of United States, you may start. You have the floor for 90 seconds.
There are three main reasons why China's historic claim has no base. The number one being, as mentioned by ICJ in the case of frontier dispute, the significance of a map under international law depends on producers' consistency, neutrality, objectivity, and authority. Before 1908, no Chinese maps included South China Sea Islands. Between 1909 and 1917, the Paracel and Practice Islands gradually appeared. Finally, in 1947, the 11 dash line came into existence. Chinese maps cannot be claimed as legitimate sources of historic claims as they're not consistent. This is further solidified by the fact that in ancient Chinese Confucian system, rulers had jurisdiction over individuals, not territories. Hence, sovereignty prevailed with fluid boundaries. Number two, as established by the legal status of Eastern Greenland Judgment, to acquire sovereignty, a state must demonstrate both the will and must to act as sovereign and some actual exercise corpus of that authority. Consequently, mere knowledge does not constitute discovery. The accuracy of China's claim is colored as it did not raise objections corpus when Scarborough Shoal was first surveyed by a Philippine-based Spanish ship in 1800 and a more detailed survey was connected by a British ship in 1856. Number three, under prevailing international law as articulated by the ICJ in the fisheries case, when determining issues of territorial sovereignty, the independent activity of private individuals of little value. Therefore, the records that show that Chinese fishermen sporadically lived on some of the Spratly Islands for short periods of time while they were engaged in non-state sponsored fishing activities do not account for territorial sovereignty. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate. You have 10 seconds left. What do you yield your time to?
Yield to points of information.
Okay. Before that, are there any points of orders? Or even, sorry, any points of personal privilege? Yes, Delegate of Brazil.
Point of personal privilege. Could the delegate repeat the point where they stated in ICJ ruling in the third point where that they stated in their speech?
Yeah. So I was referring to the ICJ fisheries case, the case between Britain and Norway.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other points of personal privilege? Delegate of Brazil, do you still have a point?
No, I'm sorry. I've lowered my hand.
That's fine. Okay, any points of orders? Seeing none, are there any points of information to the delegate of United States? We'll be recognizing two. Delegate of China, and then any other point of information. Delegates, just one request. We request all of you to, if you have a point of information, raise your hands at once when it is asked. If you guys say that after one point of information is done that you have a point of information more, we won't be recognizing that since that is not fair. So in general, just raise it in one go so that it is fair for everyone. Everyone has the same amount of time to prepare a point of information and ask. Okay, delegate of China, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of United States of America mentioned in their speech a ruling of the International Court of Justice. If the United States is so particular about following ICJ rulings, in 1986, the US ignored a ruling from the International Court of Justice, which was pertaining to the harbors of Nicaragua to be illegal. So, at the same time, if it's so particular about filing ICJ rulings, why does the United States have such a pragmatic stance when it comes on abiding those rules on its own? Thank you.
To answer the question, thank you for the question, delegate. So to answer the question, delegates, it is important to know that in United States speech, the delegate mentioned about ICJ cases as an example to support the point, and more importantly is the fact that the US does respect ICJ rulings, and whenever and also at the same time considers national sovereignty to be of utmost importance. Thank you.
To follow.
Denied delegate. Like plead to follow up is only when he didn't understand your question at all. The delegate answered your point. So considering that, there will be no plead to follow up. Okay. With this, we have the next speaker. The next speaker on the list is the delegate of Russia.
Yes, EB.
Once again, Avigna, could you share the timer? Yes, delegate of Russia, you may begin.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, as we all gather here to express our deep concerns over the escalating tensions in the South China Sea, Russia firmly advocates for peaceful resolution and urges the parties linked directly in the dispute to engage in meaningful dialogue to address the issue at hand. In the spirit of diplomacy and peaceful resolution of conflicts, which is indeed the reason for this gathering, Russia continues to negotiate in resolving regional disputes. We believe that inclusive talks respectful to the members of the Council are essential to achieve lasting stability. Russia understands the importance of territorial expansion and would like to call upon the outside nations to stop interfering. Any such move can be detrimental to the country's peace and safety. Russia addresses China to ensure that maritime activities remain unhindered amidst this altercation. However, to make you aware of, Russia takes a neutral position in this variance. In conclusion, the Russian Federation restates its dedication to fostering a more harmonious world through diplomacy, cooperation, and respect for international law. Let us build a future where prosperity prevails for generations to come. Thank you.
Okay, delegate. Delegate, you have 20 seconds left. How would you yield your time to?
I would like to yield my time to the EB.
Okay. Apart from that, are there any points of personal privilege? Yes, delegate of Malta.
Delegate of Malta requests to briefly exit the meeting.
I didn't get you. Could you repeat yourself?
The delegate in Malta requests to briefly exit the meeting.
That's fine, delegate. You.
Do we need to make a point of personal privilege for that?
No, you can leave. You can leave the meeting, but join back. Like
Okay.
if you have some problem, you can leave and join back. That's. Okay. With this, I would like to ask: are there any more points on the floor? Are there any more points on the floor? Yes, delegate of UAE.
You're recognizing points of information, right?
No.
Okay.
Any other points? Points of orders, points of personal privilege. Yes, delegate of Brazil.
Point of personal privilege. So in the beginning, you stated that even if the time gets over, you would be entertaining one point of information since the committee size is small. So would that apply even if the delegate yields their time to the EB?
No, delegate. If the delegate yields his or her time to the EB, then obviously he or she is not willing to take questions, right? So we can't force her to take questions. So
Alright.
our point is, if you don't want to have, like, if you want to have, like, even if you finish your time, we can still have a question to your speech. But if the delegate doesn't want a question, then we can't force him or her to take a question, right? But in general, my suggestion is, even if you guys take a question, it is better you guys take a question, because even if if you're not able to answer the question, that's not a problem. You are not negatively marked for that. Only if you answer it, then you're marked. But if you don't take a question, it's still the same. You're not marked. So it's the same. So it's better if you take a question and try to answer it, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Are there any motions on the floor? Any other delegate apart from the United States of America? Okay, yes, delegate of United States of America. Okay, no, sorry, delegate of Brazil.
The delegate of Brazil raises a motion to suspend formal debate and move into an unmoderated caucus for the total time of 10 minutes to discuss the moderated caucus topics within the committee members.
Okay, delegates, all those who are in the favor of this motion. Delegates against. This motion fails. Are there any other motions on the floor? Delegates, please raise your hands. Yes, the delegate of United States of America.
The delegate of United States of America would like to suspend formal debate and move into a moderated caucus on the topic deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in the disputed areas, with total speakers time being 30 minutes and individual speakers time being 60 seconds.
Could you repeat the topic once?
Yeah.
Once again. Ahmed, could you note down the topic as well and put it on the chat box?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in the disputed areas.
Ahmed, did you get that?
Yeah, I would be repeating it just to be clear. It's a deliberation upon the aspects of militarization in disputed areas. Is there any keyword missing?
or delegate of USA, could you clarify that?
Yeah. I didn't hear you actually. My network got a little.
I was saying I would be repeating the your motion. It was a deliberation upon the aspects of militarization in disputed areas. Is there any keyword missing?
Yeah, aspects and implications. Aspects and implications must be.
Okay, cool. I'll be putting this in the chat box.
Yeah. Just put it in the chat box. So delegates who are seconding this motion. The motion is in the chat box, delegates. Delegates against. Delegates for. Delegates against. Delegates, all of you haven't voted. It's only 9 people again. So every one of you must vote. I'll take the voting once again. This is a procedural vote. All of you must vote yes or no. It's up to you, but you all must vote. So delegates who are in the favor of this motion. Okay, delegates against this motion. Delegates, problem is all of you still haven't voted and the hands are going up and down again and again. I'll be very clear in one go. Delegates who are in favor of this motion. Okay. Delegates against. This motion fails.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, Gatik.
Yes.
Right. So I would just like to provide an instruction to the committee members, and this applies to all the delegates and all other committees. Please maintain a certain committee discipline, a way of talking to other delegates, even if it is not on the formal platform of Zoom. It is important. Any such reports will lead to the deduction of marks because, again, this is an important criteria for formal MUN, right? Please keep that in mind, delegates. Consider this as a warning. And next time, if we get any reports for the same delegate, again, it would be detrimental for them. So please keep that in mind next time onwards. Gatik, I'm so sorry to interrupt. You can continue.
No, that's fine. That's not a problem. Okay. Delegates, with this, okay. With this, we'll be looking forward to the next speaker in the GSL. That is the delegate of UAE.
Yes, we will. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start.
The dispute over the dominance of the South China Sea is one of the many territorial issues where China is pressing its neighbors, threatening instability and armed conflict. The South China Sea dispute stands out for challenging the sovereignty and traditional territory of several regional countries, that is the Asian countries. The region where the war between China and America are the most imaginable. China's increasing assertiveness, especially in the region it borders, is reshaping international affairs. Some observers also believe that the root cause is fear amongst the Chinese leader that they have a limited window in which they have to act. In 1947, when the Republic of China published a map with the 9 dashes, when connected, the dashes form a U that encloses most of the South China Sea. However, the Republic of China did not clearly explain what the 9 dashes actually are. UNCLOS is renewed every year with a great amount of support from the General Assembly. But over the years, it was observed that the Chinese don't seem to agree to anything as a whole and alter laws as per their needs or completely ignore them. As a solution to this problem, the delegate of UAE proposes the reformation of the Security Councils to include a veto override provision. As China is one of the P5 countries, it enjoys more power as compared to the other states and can take decision as per its needs. So reforming the Security Council to include a veto override provision through the widening of the Security Council to include smaller, less powerful states. Again, this will mean that for a fundamental reform of the UN Charter, it would require the cooperation of all
Wrap
5
up, Delegate.
member states. Can I just complete the point? It's one line.
Oh, okay.
The UN Charter, it would require the cooperation of all 5 permanent member states of the Security Council who would surrender some degree of their veto power. That's it.
Okay. With this, as you said, we'll entertain one. Delegate, are you willing to take up points of
Yeah,
information?
sure.
Okay. Delegates, give me a moment. Firstly, are there any points of personal privilege? Are there any points of orders? Are there any points of information? We'll be entertaining one. Yes, Delegate of France.
Am I audible?
Yes, Delegate, you are.
I had a question. After considering the role of United Arab Emirates in the international orgs and its commitment to multilateralism, as you mentioned, what actions would UAE support to address the militarization in the South China Sea dispute?
Can you just repeat the question, because I don't think it's related to my statements or the speech that I just made. It's a completely different topic right now. Militarization. Can you just repeat your question, because militarization is not anywhere mentioned in my speech, and it's something that I did not state. So if you could repeat your question.
But you mentioned about the concept of multilateralism in your speech, so I had a question regarding it.
Okay, can you please repeat your question?
After considering the role of UAE in the international orgs and its commitment to multilateralism, what actions would UAE support to address the militarization in South China Sea?
The delegate of UAE doesn't support any such militarization, as it's a region still in conflict of many regions like the Asian countries and the China. They're fighting for the power of the South China Sea. Rather than that, I proposed a reformation of the Security Council to include a veto override provision that would say that, as the P5 countries enjoy more power as compared to the other states, so I propose that other smaller countries, when there's a crisis, the countries who are not directly related to the crisis, they could be added. Less powerful states, they could be given some power to make the decisions rather than just the P5 countries enjoying all the power. So like my country and like UAE and other small countries who are not directly involved in the crisis.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate, okay. With this, I would like to ask once again, are there any motions on the floor? Yes, Delegate of Malta.
Motion to extend points of information.
Motion to
extend points of information.
Delegates, there are no such motions where we can extend points of information, considering the fact it is relative to the time the delegate has consumed, right? So we can't really extend that. So the motion is not in order.
Understood.
Are there any other motions on the floor? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next speaker. Before that, just one thing, if it is possible, delegate of Russia and the delegate of UAE, are you both there on the WhatsApp groups?
Oh, yes, I am.
Delegate of Russia, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Like my number is there on the WhatsApp group, right? Could you both send me your speeches on the WhatsApp group? Because we had like a few points we couldn't note down. So just for that.
On the WhatsApp group or personally?
To me, to myself on the WhatsApp. So not on the group, to me, just find my number through the group. Okay. With that, we have the next speaker. That is the delegate of Ghana. Delegate of Ghana.
Can you hear me?
Yes, delegate. Avigno, could you share the stopwatch? Delegate of Ghana, you may start.
The South China Sea is a crucial global trade route, has garnered attention due to China's controversial 11-line claim. While Ghana is not directly involved in this dispute, we advocate for upholding UN clause, an agreement China itself signed in 1996. Our firm belief is in diplomacy and peaceful negotiations as guiding principles. We encourage all parties to commit to resolving their differences through dialogue and adherence to international law. It is imperative to avoid military conflicts in such an economically vital region. Ghana proposes a solution by examining past ICJ arbitrations, such as the 2008 Malaysia-Singapore dispute over uninhabited rocks in the Singapore state. This approach involves a neutral assessment of historical evidence and records of previous administration in the disputed areas, offering a fair and impartial means of resolving the current dispute. We believe the map does not hold any relevance due to its unreliability and its constant mutability.
Okay, delegate. You have. Yes, delegate. So you have 25 seconds left. How do you yield your time to?
Points of information.
Okay, delegate. Are there any other points on the floor, points of personal privilege? Yes, delegate of United Kingdom.
I had a point of privilege that if Ghana could repeat the last sentence that he made in the statement.
Delegate of Ghana, could you do that?
We believe the map does not hold any relevance due to its unreliability and its constant mutability.
Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, delegate of China. What is your point?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, delegate.
The delegate of Ghana mentioned in their speech, if I'm not wrong, quote 11-line, correct?
Delegate of Ghana, could you clear that?
Yes, I believe I do.
Okay. Yes, delegate of United States.
Actually, wanted to recognition for point of
Point of personal privilege?
information.
Delegates, don't raise your hands right now. Do it when we ask you, because it is already hard to do it over Zoom, right? So just raise your hands when we ask for that. Are there any points of orders? Seeing none, are there any points of information? We'll be recognizing 4, Delegate of United States, followed by delegate of UAE, followed by delegate of United Kingdom. Delegate of United States. Okay. Delegate of Brazil as well. So we have 4. Delegate of United States, you may start.
Yes, delegate of Ghana, considering that like in your speech you mentioned about ICJ and how you could move on to the final solution through ICJ, considering that China has not only many a times not given into the jurisdiction of ICJ, and even the permanent court of arbitration. How would you ensure that such states and claimants of the South China Sea would actually, in the first place, be able to would be encouraged to come under the jurisdiction of ICJ?
Could you repeat the last part?
Yes. Should I? Acha, fine. So, like in your speech, you mentioned like that how ICJ and ICJ's jurisdiction would help in solving the crisis because of its neutrality. But considering that China has many a times batted over the ICJ's jurisdiction as well as permanent court of arbitration in the case of Philippines versus China. So how would you ensure that the claimant states would accept any judgment that is given by ICJ?
We believe that the International Court of Justice is one of the most pristine institutions internationally, and if it is not followed, countries such as yourself who hold immense power, Ghana does not have any geopolitical leverage. Countries like you could help in enforcing the ICJ's arbitrations.
Okay, delegate. Next we have the delegate of UAE.
The delegate of Ghana mentioned in his speech that he was considering that there should be peaceful diplomatic talks rather than any militarization. But seeing that there has been a lot of past conflicts, including military, between China and the other Asian countries like the Gulf of Tonkin, for example, in which the Asian countries actually the Asian countries at the end of the day were suffered a great loss after there have been n number of historic events like these. So even after considering all these, do you still prefer diplomatic talks and
we heavily urge both sides to hold diplomatic talks, as it's always better to hold diplomatic talks than using militancy for tension, geopolitical tension, and everyone around the world.
Okay. Next we have the delegate of United Kingdom.
Yes. Ghana mentioned that the map does not hold any relevance in the South China Sea dispute. The UNCLOS itself recognizes the importance of historical claims in pertaining situation. So what leads Ghana to believe that the map does not hold enough significance in the South China Sea dispute?
Although the UNCLOS does outline that, it's also important to take into account how unreliable and how constantly changing the map has been. It was at first a 9-dash line and then an 11-dash line. There's been very little jurisdiction over these areas that they have marked as their own, and on top of that, it's constantly changing. And it's only, if you look at it properly, it's only 9 or 11, how many, depending on the map you're looking at, 9 or 11. The dash lines, they're in the end just dash lines. They do not underline any specific area of jurisdiction. You could have any sort of shape outside of this dash line.
That's a delegate, yeah. Okay. The final POI, we have the delegate of Brazil.
Yes, thank you. So the delegates stated in their statement that they wish to avoid military conflicts. However, they also at the same time stated that they wish to include the ICJ arbitrations into the in resolving the conflict, and the map does not hold any relevance. But does Ghana not think that if they include ICJ, then China's temper would rather rise, and saying that the map does not hold any relevance would actually lead to them expanding their military in the South China Sea, which would actually worsen the case?
As I mentioned before, we believe the ICJ holds is the most pristine international jurisdiction, and if China gets angered by the rulings of the ICJ, then I believe it's not something we can do anything about. It's just diplomatically not accurate.
Okay, delegate, that's fine. Delegates, once more, this is to remind you all, please rename yourselves to your country's name, followed by your own name, because we need it for recognition and all that. So please do that. Also, then, do you guys, yes, please, delegates, I request you to change your names like immediately right now to your country's name and all that. With that, I would again ask, are there any motions on the floor? Are there any other motions apart from United States of America? Okay, we recognize the delegate of Mozambique.
Am I audible?
Yes, delegate.
Delegate of Mozambique would like to raise a motion to move into a moderated caucus on the topic deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in disputed areas, for the total time being 20 minutes and individual speakers' time being 90 seconds.
Could you repeat the topic? You're on mute, delegate.
Deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in disputed areas, the same one that was there before.
Okay, delegate. Delegates seconding this motion. I'll post it again in the chat box for everyone to see. Delegate seconding this motion. Delegates against. Delegates for the motion. Delegates against the motion. Delegates, once again, all of you are not voting. Like at one point I can move forward from, if you guys are not voting, I'll like take the majority, but please, like all of you must vote. So once again, delegates who are seconding the motion. Delegates against. Delegates for the motion. Delegates against the motion. Delegates, just to be very clear, we're doing this for the last time in this model caucus. In this motion, I'm like being very serious. If this keeps on happening, then we'll just see whatever the majority is, like whatever is more for or against, and we'll just move ahead for motions. Right? I'm asking again, one go. Delegates in the favor of the moderated caucus deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in disputed areas. Raise your hands now. Okay. Delegates who are against this motion, raise your hands now. Okay, so this motion fails. Delegates, once again, you are all requested to turn on your cameras.
The point of personal privilege.
Yes, delegate of USA.
Sir, France was counted twice in both the favor and
Still the motion fails. Like I'll do the counting once again because it was 6 and 7. Like once more. That's it. Delegates, you have to be very clear about this. Raise your hands in one go. If you want, even I can count till 10. That's it. Because this is almost like that. Like we can't move ahead if you guys don't vote properly. Because then we don't know what the consensus is and everything. So please vote in one go. Delegates who are in the favor of this motion. Delegates who are against this motion. This motion fails. So this motion has failed. The reason being there are like 6 and 6 votes. For a simple majority, there needs to be half plus 1. So that is 7. So like in this case, it should have been total votes were 12, right? So it should have been half the number of votes plus 1. So it should have been 7 for it to pass since it wasn't there. So it has failed. Okay. With this, delegates, like not continuing with the committee right now. One point that I have is you guys don't have moderated caucus topics decided, right? And you even failed the motion for an unmod. So what do you guys want to do like now? You want to just continue with the GSL? Because after one point, we can't do that. It's already been like 4 speakers, right? How many GSLs can you keep giving? Like if we can go through you all guys once, twice, that's it. You want if you want to have debate in the for any MUN to be like fruitful or debate, like have enough debating, there needs to be moderated caucus or unmods. You guys need to discuss what unmods do you want, right? So like if any one of you could, like, is there been any discussion done upon this or no? Because the thing is, wait, since I know this is like the first time, like usually this happens in offline MUNs where you are not given any lobbying groups and stuff and you're told to do lobbying right there and then. But like since that is not possible, so since an online method is not easy to do that without lobbying groups. So the first thing is you guys have a break, right? If I'm not wrong, could anyone confirm from now to what time did you have? Do you have to break?
Till 3:50.
Okay.
Till 3:50, you have the break.
Okay, so thank you, ma'am. So you guys can have the break till 3:50. Just before you guys go, as soon as you come back from the break, you guys will have an unmod by EB's discretion. So this is not a motion. This is from our discretion. You have an unmod for 5 minutes. But you guys got to decide in those 5 minutes what do you want to do next. Like even if you want a bigger unmod later, you can raise a motion after that unmod, do that. If you have, you can decide or moderate caucus topics, you can do that. But I want you guys to decide what you want to do in the committee, because otherwise this is going to be like this where motions keep on failing and all that. So you guys have a break till 3:50. Don't leave the meeting. Just turn your cameras off, turn your audio off, and you can go, right? Don't leave the meeting. And return back, please return back like positively on 3:50 because we're already like quite slow in terms of committee pace today. Also, Ahmed and Avigno, I'll be inviting you both to a breakout room right now, like just the 3 of us.
Sir, is the floor right now for unmod right now?
No, it is a break.
So
it is
when 5 minutes, when was that supposed to happen?
After the break.
Fine.
So at 3:50, you guys return back, and then we'll tell you to start with the unmod.
The break is till 3:50, right?
Yes, ma'am. Whatever is there in the schedule.
All right, I'm just putting it on chat for the guest
Yes,
if they come.
thank you, ma'am. Ahmed and Avigna, could you see the room?
Yes, not visible.
Just join that. What?
The breakout room is not visible to me. Where is it? Yep, it's not visible.
Okay.
How many breakout room you want?
Sir, one with me and Ahmed and Avigna there.
So only 2 rooms required.
One room, so just me and the two of them. 3 of us in a breakout room. Ahmed and Avigna, could you just raise your hand so that it is more easier for sir to recognize?
Only you only 3 enough?
Yes, sir.
Ahmed, Avigna, and
Delegates, are you all back from the break? It is 3:53.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we are there.
On our cameras, delegates.
So we
Delegates.
were,
What?
so can I say something on an informal note?
Yes, delegate.
So we were having some conversation between ourselves. So we were deciding upon what were the mods to be discussed.
Delegates, wait. We will be giving an unmod, right? So that is for everyone. Discuss that there. Everyone, please turn on your cameras if you're back from the break. It is 3:54. Delegate of Ghana, delegate of Philippines, delegate of France, delegate of Malta, Mozambique, delegate of Gabon. Okay. It is 3:54, right?
Yes. It's 3:54.
Yes, delegate of Malta, we'll add you to the general speakers list. Ahmed, could you do that?
Yeah, cool.
Okay. With this, you guys are in an unmod until 4:05, but please decide upon something. Even if you want more and more of an unmod time, that's fine, but please decide upon something, right? You guys have an unmod for 10 minutes. Delegates, just one more rule before that. We have the foreign delegates over here. So the only rule is all of you must speak in English even during the unmods. And apart from that, you guys, like, because this is an online MUN, so you can't even like really hear you like going over each other. So be like patient and calm during the unmod, be orderly, be diplomatic, and then do the unmod. Otherwise, we'll have to stop and then again instruct you to be calm and all that. So don't waste time over that. Be calm, go one by one, do the unmod, and please decide upon something.
Okay. So delegates, as you were discussing, would you be like everybody saw like how two to three times the mod had already failed. But now would everybody vote in favor for the motion which was raised first by me and then by the delegate of Mozambique as in the chat box? Please just say yes or no if you're now willing.
I would think that because it has already been denied 3 times, we should go ahead and like choose another topic instead of the mod that we
Delegate,
are
we were having a discussion about that, but considered most of the delegates didn't were focusing more on GSL, so they wanted the GSL to move forward. So that's why many of them actually voted against. So
yeah, that's fine.
Delegate, let's do
One by one, please. It will be absolute chaos with only 5 minutes at hand. So if anyone wants to speak, just raise your hand. As we have a set of delegates have already discussed this previously, the committee was more centered towards the GSL speeches. So
Yeah,
it would be better if we can move it to moderated caucus, because that would facilitate more specialized discussion amongst the delegates. So if anyone has another motion or something in mind that we can be more centered towards, that's fine. If you're just going to repeat the same points, that's not going to be very fruitful. So this, for once, everyone that is in favor of the special discussion on militarization, that is also in the chart, I guess.
Yeah,
just raise your hand.
I have put it right now for everyone. Just read it once. If you think you need to change the wording or change the topic itself, just tell it right now before the voting itself.
Just raise your hands, all those that are okay with discussing that.
Yeah, Brazil,
Right. So I was saying that considering how Morcox, as everyone just even said that they have to be on specific topics, why not we do this for talking about military itself and the aspects and implications? Why don't we specify this towards the exclusive economic zones rather than discussing the whole disputed region itself?
delegates, because militarization is happening in the whole South China Sea, and exclusive economic zone is claimed differently by different countries. So talking about EEZ in a way would hamper the mod topic and restrict it. So we have included the wording as disputed areas.
Right.
Delegate of Brazil, just 1 second. As delegate of USA already said, exclusive economic zones are very centered and up to perception of each and every country present in the region. Secondly, it would create a very broad topic rather than having a specialized discussion, because that would go more towards who has this economic zone, who is overlapping that. So that would just create absolute utter chaos.
Can I say something in regard to this?
Region, that would also facilitate more.
So actually, you said that this would become a very broad topic, but saying that you are saying that militarization of the whole South China Sea region, it isn't that more of a wider topic than what Brazil is recommending. I would say that the whole purpose of this committee is to discuss and decide and finalize as to what exclusive economic zones belong to what countries, and just debating upon what are the legal implications would change anything. So I also think that discussing about the exclusive economic zones would be a better option.
No, exactly my point. So exclusive economic zone is different for different countries. Different countries claim it differently. So this would hamper the discussion in the topic. So using the term disputed area, then in the more topic proposed, it is mentioned disputed area. So that would include exclusive economic zones as well as other areas that are there in South China Sea. So that's why we have included.
Also, I would like to put forward, just because our agenda or the Mod Caucus topic says militarization, that doesn't mean that you'll always have to be in favor of that. Of course, you can propose some other ideas in your speeches as well. So that's not a thing.
Yeah, you can give solutions to what actually is happening. So it doesn't only talk about why is this legislation wrong, why is this legislation
Delegate,
right. You can also talk
your own research, what you're saying.
Exactly. Just a suggestion, why UK was
exactly. There is a specialized discussion topic that we have taken that we want the committee to move forward towards. Rather than saying what you want to speak, that's up to the individuality of the delegate. We are here towards discussing what the entire committee should be moving towards. And
should we vote
I
it
think
right
that's a pretty justified agenda.
There are only 4 minutes.
Exactly. Let's vote a point. Everyone's against. Raise your points and then we can hear you out, rather than just repeating the same points repetitively.
Yeah, listen. We only have 4 minutes. We should start with the voting itself, because we'll not be able to vote there.
Also, this topic basically will allow us to address the whole South China Sea as a whole, rather than just the EEZs of specific countries, as just mentioned earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
dispute should
be taken as a whole.
1 second. Right. Okay. So the United States points that the perception of EEZs at countries. I get that point, and that's a very valid point here. But I must also say that considering that perceptions are different and come at the same page before we can actually find a solution to the overall conflict, Brazil also believes that there should be one moderated caucus which should be focused only on the exclusive economic zones.
Delegate, listen, we have 3 days, we have time, but considering that in the BG itself, 3 of the 4 questions to consider, with the EB wants us to look forward to is dependent upon militarization itself. So considering that, it is important that we've addressed that aspect of the agenda first. We have 3 days, so it's not like we won't. Yeah, we can start voting. So delegates, we have the mod in the chat itself. Those who think that we should move forward, please raise your hand right now. And any delegate who doesn't who is against, can right now tell itself why and against.
One more.
I'm really sorry. I got exit from the meeting. Can you guys just brief me what happened?
Yeah, we were just voting upon the motion. like informal voting. So Philippines, Brazil, Gabon, Malta, you have a view against the motion which is proposed.
No, I think there's
Fine. So in that case,
version on
you can raise your hand right now if you're in favor.
Wait, one second. I just have one question to all those that are opposing this mod. Is there a problem with the phrasing that you have, or is there a problem with the entire discussion on its own, the mod topic? If that's the case, just someone
What we can do is delegates raise your hands if you think the motion, if you're against the motion basically, then we can address your queries or any suggestions that you have. Those are who are against.
rather than just against the motion, we have been doing
The
that.
wording,
We have done
yeah, the
that two
wording.
times, delegate of USA, and it has failed 2 times. If you're against the wording, raise your hands right now. And if you're completely against the agenda, then we'll ask you that again. Are you against the wording?
Against the mod topic, not the agenda.
Huh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So Brazil, yeah, first UK, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So as I was saying that the EB wants us, you are correct, the EB wants us to focus on the militarization of the South China Sea dispute. But if we cover the whole part of the militarization in one mod topic, then there won't be anything left to discuss in the other mod topics. That's why I'm saying to give special emphasis to different regions. So that, listen to me first.
There is a lot of
Delegates,
already said that.
there's a lot of chaos. Let one delegate finish their
Yes,
statement and then the other
Yeah.
one can speak.
So that's what I'm saying. That
Huh,
first, in my opinion, I think we should focus on different concepts and not as a like not the whole South China Sea dispute as the whole, because so that we could come forward with solutions and outcomes as to what do we have to do against different regions. Because if we discuss the whole South China Sea, then there won't be anything, any such solution to it, because one person will be discussing EEZ, one person will be discussing something else. So there won't be any consensus among the committee about a solution. That's why I'm saying to give special emphasis to specific topics first. If you guys do not want to do EEZs first, then we can do other things as well. But I'm saying to not include all of these things like in the whole topic, so that we just expand and exhaust all of the things in one topic without coming out without coming forward with the solution.
There is a lot of discussion. If you have read the BG, there is a lot of points to discuss, and there can be at least 6 to 7 mods excluding militarization itself. So like even if
I had a question.
I just have one thing to
one second, guys.
Yes, sir.
Just one thing I have to say. 1 second, just say one thing, then I'll not say anything. We have already had this discussion ki if you guys are against the mod topic or not. We simply, because of the unmod will eventually exhaust. What I'm trying to say is we did not eventually decide that the problem was with wording or with the mod caucus topic in itself. If we can figure that out, then we can relatively change the topic or can rephrase it. So before going into a completely derailing from the track, taking a new topic, let's just figure this out first before our time exhausts, which I think
the time is over.
Hold
Yes,
on,
sir.
just a quick question. I had a...
Yes.
Okay, so is this specific about military escalation,
Delegates,
or
this
is
is
this...
the Vice President. Delegates, your time for the unmoderated caucus has been exhausted. So I will be requiring any one delegate to actually summarize what was discussed in the unmoderated caucus for a fruitful direction towards the committee. Delegate of United States.
Yes, sir. So, sir, we discussed about how the committee should move forward. We decided upon a topic that is deliberation upon aspects and implication of militarization in the disputed areas. Two or three of the delegates were against it, saying that the motion is a little wide in nature, but most of the delegates in the committee agreed to the motion.
Okay, delegate. That would be cool. I'll be waiting for our chairperson to join the meeting, and we'll be moving forward.
I am here, Ahmed. You could.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ahmed, you can continue. You can take forward.
Yeah. So, delegates, are there any motions on the floor? Cool. Delegate of China, followed by delegate of United States of America, followed by delegate of Brazil, followed by delegate of UAE. Second. Followed by the delegate of UK and France. So the first motion that would be raising in the committee is for the delegate of China.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The delegate of China would like to suspend formal debate and move into a moderated caucus on the topic deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in the disputed areas, for each speaker's time being 60 seconds and the total time being 20 minutes.
Cool. So I'm expecting this is the same agenda that was discussed earlier, because I think the wordings are same.
Yes.
Is it correct?
Yes.
Cool. And could you please repeat the total time and each speaker's time?
20 minutes.
And each speaker's time 60 seconds.
Yes.
The point of personal privilege.
Yeah, delegate to what point?
So point of personal privilege.
Yeah.
Sir, would you be stringent in terms of the total speaker's time of 20 minutes?
Delegate, according to this direction to debate, I guess that would be decided by the EB upon the closing of the entire time. But yeah, according to the situations, the total time could be extended depending upon the number of speakers too.
Fine, sir.
So we would be voting, and delegates, this is to make clear on a very serious note that this is a procedural voting. I want each and every delegate which is present in the committee to vote, because without such votings, by the discretion of the EB, we would take a majority and either pass or fail the motion. So for the delegation of China, the motion raised for a moderated caucus, all those delegates who are in favor of the motion, kindly raise your hands.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes,
Can you
delegate to
please
what
repeat
point?
the individual speaker's time for this motion?
Each speaker's total time being 20 minutes, each speaker's time being 60 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm again repeating, all those delegates who are in favor of the motion of delegate of China, kindly raise your hands with the agenda deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in the disputed areas. 6, 7. Okay. Now delegates 8. Now delegates keep your hands down. I want it to 0. Now all those delegates who are voting against the motion, kindly raise your hands. Gatik, it's for
Yeah.
7 and against 5. So I guess the motion passes.
The motion passes.
Okay. So the motion clearly passes. The committee has now entered into a moderated caucus with the agenda deliberation upon the aspects and implications of militarization in the disputed areas. Total time being 20 minutes. and each speaker's time being 60 seconds. I would now be recognizing speakers. To what point, United States of America?
Sir, I had a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah.
Considering that in the GSL we had one compulsory question, would that be kept in the mod also?
Yes, delegate. Depending upon the time,
Ahmed,
because
not for this mod.
Okay, cool.
Because like we are so delegate, the only problem is like we are really slow. I want this committee to have
Yes.
some pace and then do that. Because we were like really slow. So let's have this mod without questions. On the next one, we'll take them.
Cool.
Right. Also, Ahmed, before that, it was the delegate of China whose motion was passed, right?
Yeah. I'll be noting that.
No, I would just like to ask if delegate of China would like to be the first speaker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Delegate of China. Okay. Ahmed, you can recognize the remaining speakers and just put the list in the chat, and then you can continue.
Cool. Give me a second. Yeah. So, starting with the delegate of China. Be recognizing. Delegates, raise your hands, all those who wish to speak in this moderated caucus. Followed by the delegate of France, followed by the delegate of Malta, followed by the delegate of Switzerland, followed by the delegate of USA, followed by the delegate of Mozambique, followed by the delegate of UK, followed by the delegate of Ghana, followed by the delegate of Brazil, followed by the delegate of UAE. Brazil, kindly, UK, you have been recognized. Kindly lower down your hand. Yeah. So, UK, is it to any point that you raise?
Sorry, I forgot to do it now.
Yeah, cool. So I'll be posting the list of the moderated caucus one on the group, on the chat. So, Avigna, I'll be requiring you to share a screen for the timer.
Sure.
And after that, get posted, and then we'll be starting with the speeches.
Yes, delegate of Mozambique.
Parliamentary inquiry, you said we'll not be having any POIs. So if the time doesn't get exhausted, even then will we not have any POIs?
No. So technically, anyways, in a moderated caucus, according to rules of procedures, there are no points except points of personal privilege. So technically, they are not allowed. So having POIs in a moderate caucus is a special provision. And we'll take that in mind. We'll keep POIs from the next mod. But the only reason being that we are already running short of time and we haven't done much. Like we have only had 4 speeches till now in the committee, and the day is almost about to get over, right? So that's why for the first mod, we won't have points of information.
Yeah, cool. So I guess the delegate of China, you are the first speaker on the list. You missed out.
I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible.
All right. Under the pretext of upholding navigation rights and protecting international law, the United States have always been a party to subjecting conflict amongst nations. In the last decade, 6 freedom of navigation operations have been done by the United States under the pretext of upholding international law. But these friendly negotiations and consultations to settle the South China Sea issue are just a pretext to incite conflict amongst the neighbors. when safeguarding our territory, China exercises maximum restraint when safeguarding our sovereignty, rights, and interests in the South China Sea. On the opposite, the US willfully sends large-scale advanced vessels and aircraft to the South China Sea for military reconnaissance and drills, and illegally intruded into China's territorial waters and space, water, and airspace, adjacent to islands and reefs. Since the beginning of uh, this conflict, recently, in these years, in the 2000s, the US has conducted close-in reconnaissance for nearly 2,000 times, and over 20 large-scale military
Please
deals
wrap
of the
up.
steel targeting China. Was the US abuses bilateral military agreements that smack of the Cold War to threaten to use force on China. This exposes the power politics and hegemonic practices. It is self-evident who is seeking coercion and intimidation, threatening freedom and security of
Delegate,
navigation.
kindly wrap up,
China
please.
is open to yeah, I'm wrapping up. South China, the delegate of China is open to discussions and deliberation to wrap up these issues and to willfully participate in discussions amongst the neighbors. Thank you.
Yeah. So the next speaker on the list is the delegate of France.
Point of personal privilege.
Sorry, delegate, to what point?
Point of personal privilege.
Yeah, delegate.
Sir, delegate of China went 40 seconds over the time.
I'm sorry.
The delegate of China went 40 seconds over the time, like 1 minute 40 seconds.
A delegate, according to our stopwatch, what I could see in the screen, it was 1 minute 20 seconds. Is it same for the other EB members?
It is 1 minute 40, but yeah, the time, like the points after once the time has passed, right?
Yes, delegate.
Like we just
that wouldn't be
consider
considered.
that point. After that, like I'm telling you, you can keep speaking, that's not a problem, but like it's of no use because as soon as you pass the 60 seconds, right, we just mark the point that you're saying. We let you complete that. That's it.
Yeah. So the delegate of France.
Yes. May I start?
Yeah.
The militarization of disputed territories poses a serious threat to international peace and stability in a time when cooperation on a global scale and adherence to international law are essential. It is possible for tensions to rise, conflicts to break out, and regional and international peace and security to be jeopardized as a result of militarization of disputed areas. We must uphold our commitment to the values of peaceful conflict resolution and respect for countries' sovereignty as accountable members of the global community. France firmly supports the sanctity of international law. The standards outlined in international agreements like the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which is also known as the UNCLOS, must be followed by all countries. The legitimacy of international law is undermined by militarization of contested territories. As seen by numerous occurrences in the recent years, this poses an imminent threat to world peace. There should be advocacy for international mediation efforts involving neutral parties to facilitate negotiations and help bridge gaps between claimant countries. France is steadfast in its commitment to upholding global peace and security. To sum up, to address the issues brought on by the militarization of disputed areas,
Delegate, you have elapsed your time.
just a second. We implore this council to act resolutely and in union. We can work together to prevent conflicts and build a more peaceful world for all through diplomacy, observance of international law, and joint efforts. Thank you.
Delegate of Malta. Delegate of Malta.
Yes, the delegate Malta is present.
Are you you are up for the speech?
Yes, yes. The delegate of Malta believes that it is fundamentally and morally wrong to militarize the South China Sea, and countries like China, USA, Taiwan, and Vietnam are undermining global and international laws by trying to militarize the South China Sea. The delegate in Malta saw 6 implications in this. Firstly, it overrules the freedom of navigation, closing the borders, closing the gates of the sea, and restricting other countries who do try to endeavor into the South China Sea with trains and whatnot. Secondly, with ethical concerns. Thirdly, a key violation of international laws that should always be upheld as per the constitutions of the United Nations Security Councils. Fourthly, environmental concerns that applies to the ecosystem and the seas. Fifth is the further escalation of tensions. When one country continuously tries to assert one's dominance over the others, it will only be a steadfast deadlock, and which leads me to my last analysis impact, which is the domino effect of further global repercussions. The delegate of Malta believes it is fundamentally wrong and should not stand. Thank you.
Yeah, after that, we would be having the delegate of Switzerland.
Yes.
Avigna, the timer. Yeah. Delegate, you may start.
So the expansionism on the South China Sea has invaded the global peace as well as regional stability, which leads to many problems in the future. But implicating militarization on this disputed area wouldn't solve the problem. It will only lead to more problems as well as to the world peace and to the future. This is why militarization shouldn't be an option as for now to solve the expansionism on the China Sea, as there are much more solutions to this. With this, delegates of Switzerland will end its speech.
Yes, delegate, you have around 16 seconds left on the timer, but yeah, we've been moving on to the next delegate. And the next delegate on the list is the delegate of United States of America. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, starting. Territorial maritime disputes in a partial area violate UN clause, which requires claimants to cooperate and provisional arrangements and avoid jeopardizing the final agreement. Articles 74 and 83. In a 2004 ruling on the Guyana and Suriname dispute, the PC interpreted this to prohibit unilateral actions causing permanent changes to the disputed areas. China's creation of artificial islands and geographical alteration in this context goes against these principles and would restrict the FUNOP, as stated by the delegate of Malta. UNCLOS does not permit China to exert 12 nautical mile territorial areas or EEZs around the artificial islands as at Mischief Reef and Sabi Reef. Artificial islands are entitled to a safety zone of up to 500 meters at most. China's ADIZ claim, which restricts other states' airspace transit, would breach the freedom of overflight rights on the high seas as guaranteed by UNCLOS. Article 87. China's ADIZ allows for defensive emergency measures without coordination with the zone's administration. However, it diverges from the ICAO standards by requiring information submission from all commercial craft passing through irrespective of the destination, contradicting the need for prior notice and coordination with regional air traffic authorities. Thank you.
Delegate of Mozambique.
Sir, I was audible, right?
Yes, yes, you were audible. Delegate of Mozambique.
Should I start?
Just Ahmed, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. You can start, delegate.
China is expanding and modernizing Navy, particularly the People's Liberation Army Navy plays a pivotal role in its ability to asset control and influence in the South China Sea. It is expected to grow to 400 hulls 2025 significant challenge. China has constructed artificial islands, positioning military units and missiles, expanding its anti-access area denial A2AD capability, threatening regional stability and freedom of navigation. China's military presence in the SES empowers it to project influence and control vital waterways and shipping routes. This militarization hinders diplomatic efforts for peaceful solutions to territorial disputes and encourages an arms race. China's naval capabilities protect the artificial islands, which serve as military outposts with airstrips and missile systems. In response to China's actions, major powers, including the United States, have increased their naval presence, leading to complex regional and global security dynamics. Comprehensive approach is needed. Finalization and implementation of a legally binding code of conduct for the South China Sea based on the 2002 Declaration on the Code of Parties in the South China Sea, promotion of transparency in military activities, including defense policies and deployments, establishment of confidence-building measures like hotlines and notification mechanisms to prevent incidents at sea or in the air, support responsible freedom of navigation operations in compliance with international law, engage civil society and non-governmental actors in dialogue and confidence-building measures to attractive diplomacy, encourage regional mechanisms for conflict prevention and resolution. These measures aim to promote peace.
That's it. You're 30 seconds over, so yeah, that's it.
Yeah. The delegate of UK. Next on the list.
Yes. Can I start?
Yes, delegate.
Article 61B grants the coastal state the right to authorize and regulate the construction and the use of installation or structures on one condition, but only for economic purposes, which arguably would not cover military-related concerns. China's activities on Mischief Reef raises concerns over the activities involving Chinese warships and military personnel. Mischief Reef, a low tide elevation, falls within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Under UNCLOS, the Philippines has legitimate maritime entitlement over this area, and China's claims to the contrary are baseless. Moreover, the China's construction of artificial islands in the Philippines easy without the consent of the Philippines violates the international law, specifically Article 60 of the UNCLOS. This article grants coastal states the right to authorize and regulate the construction of and use of installations or structures, but notably this is limited to economic purposes. The presence of Chinese warships and military personnel in the region raises legitimate concerns regarding the nature of these activities. China's continuous disregard to international law leads us to question its incompetence with the international order. China's attempt to act as an archipelagic state is fundamentally flawed, and the geographical distances between these features far exceed what UNCLOS permits. Thank you.
Yes, delegate. The next speaker on the list is the delegate of Ghana.
Can you hear me?
Before that, one thing, sorry, I'm really sorry to interrupt, just one thing. Can the delegate of UK and the delegate of USA send me your speeches on my WhatsApp?
Yes, okay.
Yes.
You can find my number from the group.
The next delegate on the list is the delegate of Ghana.
Sorry, I'm really sorry, Ghana. Just give me one more minute. I'm really sorry. We have the no, we don't need it in right. Yeah, we need your speech, like whatever you said as it is, just to clarify a few points. Like there was no network issue. I just want to clarify a few points. This is same for the delegate of USA and UK. Apart from that, we have Ashwi, the Deputy Secretary General for this conference. I would request all of you to recognize her presence. Also, Ashwi, are you here for the feedback?
Yes, Karthik, I'll be taking the feedback now. So if all the EB members could please leave the meeting.
Okay, so just give us a text on the group whenever you want us to join back.
Sure, we'll do that. Thank you. Okay, greetings delegates. Firstly, there are a lot of delegates whose cameras are off. So can you guys please switch on your cameras? Okay, perfect. So this is your feedback session regarding the committee proceedings. Whatever clarifications you want, or if there is any inconvenience that you guys are facing in the committee, this is the time you can raise it. Whatever you're going to tell me here is going to be completely confidential. It's not going to reach the executive board. So are there any issues in the committee per se? Any good or negative or positive feedback? Both are accepted by the Secretariat. Okay, so you can raise your hand.
Ashmi, if I'm not mistaken, I think the teacher in charges also need to leave.
Yes, ma'am. I'm extremely sorry.
Fair enough.
The in charges also are requested to leave. No teacher in charge or EV member is supposed to be present. Okay, yes. So you guys can just raise your hands for the feedback. Right now, I can only see Delegate of United States of America. Yes.
Ma'am, I just had one feedback. Ma'am, our committee was a little slow because considering that we didn't have a lobbying group, we weren't able to decide upon what to do, what to move forward with. Like for 1 hour itself, we were just continuing with the GSS again and again, and we had failed 3 to 4 motions because we weren't on consensus. So if it's possible, could the lobbying groups officially be created?
Delegates, the lobbying groups will not be created. What you can do in this case is, because your motions are getting failed again and again, raise for an unmoderated caucus. Lobbying in an MUN is through
The unmoderated caucus motion was also failed.
this, then I cannot help. I'll talk to your executive board members. Maybe by the discretion of the executive board, they can give you one unmod for 10
Yeah,
minutes.
we eventually had after failing 4 to 5 mods. We had after the break.
Okay, so so the executive board did give you an unmod, right? By the
They gave, but like we of the first part of our session, the first 1.5 hours, we were just having GSLs and failing motions 4 to 5.
I have something to say.
Okay, this I'll take it up with your EP members. Don't worry. This wouldn't happen tomorrow. Most probably, if you guys, because right now you guys are in the committee, maybe before the committee ends, you guys want to take one more unmod and decide what you're going to do for tomorrow. You guys can do that right now in the committee, because lobbying groups are not going to happen. Or you guys can decide that first thing tomorrow. You guys can start with an unmod and decide tomorrow's topics.
Yeah, delegate of USA. The reason why I didn't vote for the mod and that I kept failing is because I just wanted to move on with the general speakers list as soon as possible and complete that before we move on to tomorrow, and just not interrupt the general speakers list with an
Delegate of Malta, there is no accusation to any particular delegate of failing any kind of topics for the mod or not passing any motion. Do not worry, there are no personal allegations towards you or anybody. It's just USA's concern regarding the flow of the committee, which we will take care of. Thank you so much. Any other feedback, positive or negative, from this committee regarding the executive board? Do you think right now whatever debate has happened, is it fruitful? One, that your committee is slow, I got that, but do you think it is fruitful enough? Are you guys learning anything from what is happening in the committee? Delegate of France, followed by delegate of Malta, followed by delegate of America. Yes, France.
Yeah, I had only one feedback, that there are no chits operating in the committee, because of which we cannot express our views on other topics also.
Delegates, I'll be very honest, one reason why online we do not have chits are because sometimes sometimes the delegates send a lot of chits, and then because online it's extremely difficult for the EB members also to mark the chits. So it's just better that you guys raise a lot of POIs. Are you guys having have you had any moderated caucus till now?
Yeah, only one till now.
We were going through a moderate caucus, the first one.
Okay, so in your moderated caucus, have you guys raised a motion for POIs?
We asked for a POI, but because of the committee being very slow, our EB said that we would be not having POIs in this mod.
Okay, fine. So I'll just see, because we're not allowed chits. I know this is the first time that there is no chits and no pre-lobbying groups also present, but it's just to make the process convenient for delegates as well as the executive board members. So instead of chits, I can ask your EB members to give you POI in your moderated caucus, so that whatever you guys want to ask through chits, you can ask through POIs. I hope that's clear. Delegate of France, is there any other feedback? Okay. Delegate of Malta, you were recognized next.
It's all right. I think the delegate of France and USA will soon be expressing my concerns because it's the same as the rest of the delegates, so it's all right.
Okay, noted. Noted, delegate. Thank you so much. Delegate of United States of America.
Mama, I shared my point. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Is there any other delegate? Maybe some recognition issues if you guys have in this committee, like your committee is comparatively small, so I don't think you guys should have recognition issues. But if you guys have, this is the time you guys can speak up. Delegate of China, you're saying the EB is biased. Delegate of People's Republic of China, can you please unmute?
Yes, sir.
I see your,
Secretary.
yes, I see that you have some concerns with the EB being biased. Please tell me if you have any concerns regarding that. Do you think they're biased?
Mainly recognition issues.
Okay, so delegate of China has recognition issues. Okay, perfect. Any other delegates who have recognition issues, you guys can just raise your hand. Okay, also delegate of China, you've called the executive board biased, which is an allegation. So I just want to understand that why do you think that the executive board is biased and towards whom it is biased? Delegate.
That was for the lack of better phrasing.
So basically this was for recognition issues?
Yes.
Delegate, please understand that this is a formal Model United Nations conference in which you're a part of. This behavior is not acceptable, and I truly believe that all of you need to just be more careful. Thank you. Is there anything else? Okay. Okay, fine. Well, I think if there is any other concerns, please let me know right now. Delegate of United States of America, do you have any concern?
No.
Okay. Any foreign delegations? Are you guys fine with the committee proceedings?
Yeah. So it's just that this committee is a bit different from what I'm used to because usually we don't have moderated caucus or unmoderated caucus in the middle of a general speakers list because normally we have a very organized, neat, and structured committee where we first do every delegate's stands first, every delegate's opening speech first, and then we move on to the moderate and unmoderated caucus immediately into lobbying. So that's just what was a little bit different for me. It's not what I'm used to, but I don't exactly have like any real problem with it.
Okay, Delegate. Thank you so much. Delegate of Switzerland, you had something to say? Delegate of Switzerland, do you have anything to say? Okay, considering not, I'll just tell your EB members to join back your committee so that you guys can continue. Just give me a minute. Delegates, just in a few minutes, your EB members will join back.
Yes, delegates. The last speaker that we had was UK, and now we'll be continuing with the delegate of Ghana. The delegate of Ghana.
Ahmed, could you just like repost the thing in the chat, because the chat got cleared for all of us, right?
Cool. Give me a second.
Like only the remaining speakers.
Wait. Yeah. So, is Avigna in the meeting?
Yes.
Yeah. So, share screen for the time.
Done. Doing.
So, delegate of Ghana.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You're audible. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
The militarization of the disputed areas might heighten geopolitical tensions reminiscent of recent events like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the Russia-Ukraine war. This scenario may put us a step closer to a new Cold War, potentially leading to further proxy conflicts, which would be detrimental to African and other undeveloped nations. We must strongly discourage any escalation. Furthermore, militarization could disrupt vital trade routes, particularly the South China Sea, responsible for carrying 1/3 of the world's oil. The stability of the maritime waters of the region is crucial for many regional countries with their GDPs heavily reliant on it. Both nations have violated the international law many times. Both the US and China have violated freedom of navigation. China has thoroughly violated the terms under UN clause, while the US itself has not ratified UN clause. This violation of international law by both sides is unacceptable and should be discouraged.
Yes, delegate, your time has elapsed. The next speaker on the list is the delegate of Brazil.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, delegate, you're audible. You have the floor for 60 seconds.
Over the past several decades, multilateral discussions concerning the law of the sea have resulted in growing recognition of the importance of maritime resources and space by many of the world's nations, condemning the militarization of the EEZs and the disputed regions. At first, it is a widely shared opinion that foreign battleships engaging in military operations in a country's exclusive economic zone are considered to be harmful to the country's national security, and such activities should therefore be prohibited. Secondly, militarization and building of artificial islands by claimant states like China, which constructed islands violating Articles 56 and 60 of the UN clause, has also reportedly had a lot of ecological impact over the region's naturally available resources and trade capabilities, along with the freedom of navigation to other countries. A proper framework in accordance to the UN clause must be established in order to prevent military expansion in the disputed regions. This must also include measures of defense in case of attacks, including backup radar systems and mobile anti-missile systems to protect internal waters. Within such a framework, it is essential to investigate the different perspectives, including the Chinese perspective, with regards to military activities in foreign EEZs.
Delegate, your time has elapsed. Thank you. The next delegate on the list.
Just sorry, Ahmed, to interrupt you. Delegate of Brazil, could you like send me your speech over WhatsApp?
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah. So the next delegate on the list is the delegate of United Arab Emirates.
Yes. Should I start?
Yeah, delegate, you have 60 seconds of the floor.
Over the years, China is making its claim on the South China Sea, especially after the build of the artificial islands. The chain of artificial islands established forms not only a defensive parameter, but also provides nodes for surveillance, bases for offensive and defensive missile capabilities. As we have seen before in the Gulf of Tonkin, for the disputes at sea, the Vietnamese lost only three vessels and 3 scoremen, while the Chinese Navy lost only 1 man in return. The skirmish demonstrated the power of Chinese military against the regional opposition. Thus, this dispute was served as a warning to the others in region for engaging in military against China without aid or assistance from another great power, like USA, for example. This is just one of the few cases where China is using its power to dominate over the other regions. It is important that we have a military it's important to have military support to avoid any other future conflicts between regions. But as a member of UN, as members of UN, it is our utmost priority to avoid conflict and loss of life. I would like to propose creation of a UN maritime task force to serve as peacekeepers in the region to prevent conflict from spiraling out of control, like we saw in the Gulf of Tonkin. This would have been financed, organized, provide. It's just like, can I complete my point? This would have been financed, organized, provided with bases and forces seconded from the member states. Some who might not be enthusiastic about volunteering could skip.
Yes, delegate. Cool. So delegates, the delegation of China had raised this moderated caucus with the total time being 20 minutes, and the total speakers that had raised their hand, there were 10 speakers. That accounts for 10 minutes, and we still have a room for about 10 speakers more in the committee. So by the discretion of the EB, we would be recognizing more speakers, and you guys can again speak in the same moderated caucus, the same delegates, if they wish to speak. Yes, delegate, to what point, delegate of US?
For recognition. For recognition.
Oh, cool. So delegates, all those who wish to speak in this moderated caucus, again, I would be recognizing 10 speakers. Kindly raise your hands. Cool. Be starting with the delegate of United Kingdom, followed by the delegate of Ghana, followed by the delegate of UAE, followed by the delegate of China, followed by the delegate of Ghana. Kindly lower down your hand, you have been recognized. Followed by the delegate of Brazil.
Could you please push me a bit further down the list? Like a couple spots, if that's possible. Anna, point of personal privilege. Could you please shift my spot point down a bit?
Okay, delegate. Let me first complete the list, and then I would be shifting. So UAE, you have been recognized. Brazil, you have been recognized. Ghana, I'll be shifting you. Then we have the delegate of USA, and then we have the delegate of Mozambique. Yeah. So China, Ghana, I will be placing you after Brazil, and I'll be so towards points, delegate of Mozambique. Delegate of UAE, to what point?
Point of personal privilege, if possible, can also be moved down on the list of
Delegates,
speakers.
the thing is, yeah, sorry, really sorry. The thing is, we can't keep moving people back, right? I know this is a double recognition, but we in general can't keep people, because in the end, and if everyone asks for the same thing, it's going to be the same in the end, right? So we can't keep moving people back. But the only possible way for this is, okay, like we give you guys 2 minutes to prepare your speeches and that, right? Okay, and till then, anyways, Avigna, you can ask your question.
Delegate of UAE,
Yes,
are you okay to have a question from the EB?
sure, no problem.
You mentioned in your speech that you wanted to reduce the violence in the South China Sea and asked the military assistance from the West. So do you think that military assistance from the West can reduce the violence in the South China Sea? Because I don't think so, but because military only cause violence.
Okay, so firstly, I proposed a US maritime task force to serve as peacekeepers, as we are at the end of the day, we are members of the UN, and it's our priority to prevent conflicts. So a UN maritime task force would be sent by the UN, like the responsible committee or the responsible people for that, they'll be sending, I propose this, that it will be sending peacekeepers. And because militarization, see, I also mentioned the Gulf of Tonkin. It's an example as to why we should have peacekeepers to avoid conflict, because there were a lot of loss of life that we saw in the Gulf of Tonkin. So it would be financed by the member states, but it would be sent by the UN task forces to just cool down the situation if such a thing happens in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate UV, like in general, this is just a question from the EB, right? So this won't like count to any of the marking and anything. This is like just a question from us. So yeah.
Yes, Delegate of UK, to what point?
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes,
I
please.
wanted to ask if there was any procedure to extend the timings of the current mod topic that we are undergoing.
The only proper procedure is we exhaust this moderated caucus and then you raise an extension of this moderated caucus, right?
Okay.
But it's like you already have, like, I get your point, but the thing is we already have double recognition, right? So
yes.
Is it like, because the thing is, even if for us, it would almost be the same thing. We end this mod, we're at 10 speakers, then we take a motion for extension and then we do it for 90 seconds. But it's still like, we have 7 speakers, right? So it's better, like for me personally, even if you speak 60 seconds, right? Like in general, it's a feedback for everyone. This mod was actually good. Like all the speeches, 90% of the speeches in this mod were very close and were really good. Like I was impressed by the speeches that was going on. And this was the only reason I didn't want like questions right now, because I wanted to have a flow. Now we have a flow. And just one suggestion for your double recognitions that you have is that try and use these. So you guys wanted questions, right? Try and use this double recognitions to raise like rebuttals. I know you don't have questions, but still you can raise rebuttals. You can still raise your points through your speeches, right? Counter argument. That's how you will formulate debate in the committee. So try and do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So delegates, and moreover, adding to the point of Karthik, that see delegates, again we have an extension, like we are giving a double recognition for 10 speakers, and still only 7 speakers have raised. So logically, there is no point of getting an extension of this moderated caucus. Irrespective of that, it depends upon the committee. To what point, UAE?
Parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
Would you be entertaining questions for this extension or recognition?
No delegate.
Also, would we be continuing with these speakers as of today, because the committee session has come to an end?
That depends on the time, because if we are finished with the moderated caucus, we would try to finish 2 to 3 speakers of the general speakers list and wind up with the day one.
Because it's just 3 minutes.
Just to be clear, like, can anyone confirm what time till is it until like 5:15?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's still 5:15.
Okay, then so we have 18 minutes, right? Like even if we wherever we stop today, right? Because I'll tell you, like after 5, even we want a feedback session with you guys from our side, right? From like feedback from us, and even if you have something to tell us directly, you can do that. We have had the secretariat feedback, that's not a problem. But if you want that, like, so we need 10 minutes. So but wherever we end, we continue from the same point tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yes, France.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
I wanted to ask that if you would be recognizing more speakers for this moderated caucus.
We'll add your name right now. So we have space for 3 more. So we add.
Yeah.
We have France.
Give me a second.
Yes, delegate of United States.
Sir, I just wanted a summary of what you were telling about some double recognition, because I got disconnected for 3 to 4 minutes.
My only point is like my only feedback is try and use the double recognition to basically like you wanted questions, right? Since you guys wanted questions, So for that, you try and use your double recognition to raise rebuttals and stuff. So even if you have don't like, because this is a double recognition, this is still unplanned, right? You may not have a whole speech for 1 minute. So try and raise your double recognition, like use it for like the remaining time for rebuttals and stuff. That's how you'll encourage more debate in the committee.
To what point, UK?
Personal privilege.
Yes, delegate.
I just wanted to say that like it's already 5 now, and around 5 will be our feedback session. So like at max to max, we'll only be able to do like 3 or 4 speeches for this mod. So wouldn't be a little unfair that some people have
Delegates, I would just clarify this. We wouldn't be ending the committee unless and until at least this moderated caucus ends, because that would be unfair on both sides, and that's also not logical. So it's not such a rigid time that five.
Okay. Let's do one thing. Let's do one thing. This is an exception because the committee time is almost like gonna get over, right? So, is there anyone else who wants their name added to be to the moderate caucus? Be clear right now. Like anyone. Yes, France. Yeah, except you. We know. Is there any other point from your side? Okay. Is there anyone who wants to be added to the moderated caucus? Again. Are you sure? Like, even if you're not prepared right now, that's fine. But do you want to give, because we are not anyways gonna do this, finish this moderate caucus right now. So if anyone wants to add their name, be clear right now. We won't be taking more names later.
Japan.
Delegate of Japan. Ahmed, you could add him or her. Anyone else? Okay. So keeping that in mind, we will continue with this moderated caucus tomorrow with all the extensions so that it's fair for all. Right? That's why I was very clear that anyone who wants to add their name can do it right now. But since it's almost time, right? So we won't be taking any more speakers. That is fine. But yes, United States.
Sir, would you be also opening up the floor for individual documents tomorrow?
Floor for individual documents opens today itself. Anytime. Just put it on the mail. I'll give you guys the mail address on which you have to send that, and then you can do it. Right? So apart from, I'll give one more chance. We'll take anyone who wants to speak. UK, UAE, China, Brazil, Ghana, USA, Mozambique, France, Japan. Anyone else? Raise your hands. We'll add you. You anyways have to give your speech tomorrow. This is for the first moderated caucus. Seeing none. Okay, then this is it. We won't have any more speeches for today. Right. Okay. Fine. So you have the list. Ahmed, do you have the updated list with you as well?
Oh yeah, I have the updated list with the recognition and the marks now.
Yeah, like no, just add like after Mozambique, France and Japan.
Yeah, I have added that.
Okay. So since we have the updated list with us, so this is it. Today's committee session is over. Give me a second. I'll put the mail in the group. Okay. So this is the mail address for all documents that you have to mail, that you want to mail. We'll read these documents tomorrow morning to the, disclose the documents tomorrow morning to the whole committee, right? Send it before the committee starts so that we can disclose it in the start of the committee. Anything you send within the committee will be disclosed at the end of the committee because we don't want to interrupt the session again and again, right? Okay, now as far as feedback goes, Avigna, you can start with your feedback first.
Good evening, delegates. I personally think that the committee was pretty slow in the start. You were not, to be very frank, the delegate was not participating enough. So, but it improved at the end. And I also suggest that you should also come well researched and you should also participate in the voting, which is, of course, very important for the committee.
Okay, Ahmed, you can share your feedback.
Yeah. So delegates, I personally would provide a feedback that initially the committee was lacking enthusiasm, and I feel quite mundane speeches in the committee. But that was the point of the REV, that we gave you an unmoderated caucus so that you could fruitfully decide for a specific moderated caucus to give a direction to the debate in the committee. So I felt that during the moderated caucus, the committee did gain some speed, and the speeches were framed well in an allegative manner for some countries that were to be noted. And other than that, you better focus on the research and analysis of your speeches, in-depth stats. Other than that, it was cool.
Okay. Apart from this, my feedback is, as both of the EBs already said, this is actually right. The committee was really slow in the start. It was really boring. But I understand you guys, it's not your fault. There was no pre-lobbying and stuff. So this is the only time you met. And like in general, this is the only opportunity you had to discuss everything, right? So like from the start itself. So this is fine. Because once you guys discuss, the committee has been good, right? Like the committee has been going good pace wise. The speeches have been great. To be honest, the speeches have been good. Now the speeches are up to a good level. Like it shows how all the delegates here are delegates who are taking part in a security council, right? Like the speeches are good enough. As far as like when we go into speeches and talk about like in depth, it is more about uh now people have like started giving logical analysis, bring up stats, bring up laws as well, right? Which is good for me, like in general, because this is a security council, right? Legality is also important. I mean, it's good. It's not that you just state legal terms and all that. You need to explain its relevance in this scenario or how they apply in this scenario. But that is good. You guys have started working on that. We can see it through your speeches, which is good, which is really good. But then, like, so your speeches have been good as far as the moderated caucus topics goes. I hope, like, have you guys discussed on what moderated caucus topics you want to take further, or no? This is the only one you guys could decide upon. Anyone
This
of you?
was the only one that we could decide.
Okay. Can you do it informally? Create a group over WhatsApp and then do it? Or
Yeah,
I am fine
sir,
if guys want an unmod as well later. Just be clear, like
we would,
it's
sir,
it's
discuss it informally.
also one more thing is that everyone must be very clear that when you use lobbying groups or even when you're lobbying on personal chat, you need to be very respectful. Like this is in terms of rules and regulations of e-AIMUN. So even if you're lobbying or talking to some person informally, like talking to a person for lobbying, like over their personal chat as well, you have to be still strictly formal and diplomatic, right? This is for all of you. This must be taken care of. So no informal messages over personal chats as well. It should be all in formal, because if there are any like because there, even if there are like any slight complaints, there would be marks deduction for undiplomatic behavior. So all lobbying must be very formal and must be diplomatic. Is that clear to everyone? Because this is something even Arman discussed about earlier. So you guys need to make sure of that. Otherwise, speeches have been good now. They have been going well. try and discuss mods before on the group. If not, take an unmod. That's not a problem. If you take 10 minutes unmods and then you are able to decide what to do, that's good. If you can do it with like such in a such good way, it is really good. But one more thing before we like end the session for today. Before that, I request everyone to acknowledge the presence of Director General Samarth Bhargav. Apart from that, after this, the only thing I have to say is, like now, since you guys have time till tomorrow, right, to even prepare your second speeches for this moderated caucus. So don't repeat the same points. Like had it been today, it would have been fine because you would have repeated some points and then moved forward. That's not a problem. But like, but basically my point is, as soon as this is done, like now, since you have another day and this day is over, you have more time to research more on this topic. So don't repeat the points unless you are like trying to bring up old points and raising counter arguments. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But don't repeat the same points in your speeches. Don't go over and over again, right? Is that clear to everyone? Yes, delegate of UAE.
Yeah, I just had a doubt regarding the regarding what you said that about the documentation. So if suppose I submit a plan of action, would it be discussed in when I submit it or
Tomorrow morning? If you do it like today, it would be discussed tomorrow in the first thing when we start with the session. All the documents that have been submitted overnight or before that time, all the documents submitted during the committee session will be discussed at the end of the committee. Rather discuss, it would be just informed. So rather than discussed, it would be informed to the committee. So what we'll be doing is we'll read it out in the committee as well, and then we'll put it on the WhatsApp group so that everyone can see.
would the documentation be open for any questions?
No.
Okay.
Like unless you bring it up in your speeches, someone questions that, that's fine. Like people can question you over the documents through their POIs when they have a POI on a speech which is related to the document, they can do that. But otherwise, no. So like no questions when the document is presented. That's it. And even you don't even present the documents. It's us that who just show the document on screen. We'll read it out. That's it. And then it just goes on the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other doubts? Like now, apart from doubts, any other feedbacks for us? Like if you have, like, what should we change or how should we improve? And that's actually genuine. Like I know you have given the secretary the feedback. That's fine. We are yet to discuss that. But anything you have to say to us, like in general, like anything about the committee space, how can we improve or how can we do better? You sure? Like any good feedback, any bad feedback, that's fine with me. Like that's not even marked for me. Because we need feedback to know how to improve. Oh, are you okay? Fine. Oh, since there is no feedback, for us, like we have 3 minutes before the committee session officially ends. So like any one of you, like if not even about us, if anything about the committee, you guys felt today, like how the committee was or how the committee is going or how the committee is lacking or anything like that. Yes, United States.
I just wanted to say that because of the absence of lobbying in a great manner, like we weren't able to have very productive discussion in the first hour. But that could be seen by the fact that the same mod was passed after the lobbying, and the same mod was failed 3 to 4 times before the lobbying. Yeah, so this I wanted to show.
That one point, yeah, that's something that we EBs agree to, that this was the case. Certainly it was not in our hands, right? So we couldn't allow, it wasn't in our hands to have lobbying groups or not. But now you know how the committee is, so you can do it informally. Or you can even do it, like we don't mind you guys taking an unmod in the meeting. We don't mind like giving it, it's an SC, we have a lot of time, we can give you unmods, not a problem. But when we give you an unmod, we just want that you don't waste the unmod. So if you have 10 minutes, like today, you guys decided everything in 10 minutes. That's really good. Even if you decide one topic in 10 minutes and have a fruitful discussion like this, that's worth it. No problem with us. Okay. Yeah, you Delegate of United States, do you still have questions?
Yeah, I have a doubt. Would directives be accepted as an individual document?
Yeah. I mean, since this is not a crisis, right? So, because we don't have a crisis right now, so in general, the role of directives wouldn't be that much.
Fine.
So, like, it's better if you make a plan of action instead of a directive. This is like for everyone because directives are more towards crisis, right? So we don't have a crisis right now. So in general, it's better that if you guys focus more on documents, but instead of like directives and stuff. This is for everyone. Okay. Any other doubts? Yes, Delegate of Brazil.
Yeah, just to clarify, for the markings of the documents, like all the documents that delegate sends overnight or like during the committee, will they be marked like separately, like all the documents?
All the documents are marked separately, but in the end, like they will be marked separately, but in the end, they will be like aggregated in general. So it's not like so we mark documents separately, that's fine. But in the end, it's like more like if one delegate, so it's we also consider quality, right? But there should be enough quantity, right? So if you send a document, that is a very good document. It's like, for example, we mark documents out of 10. You send a document, that's 10 out of 10. But you only send one document. Whereas another delegate, for example, just for an example, delegate of China sends 5 documents. But the 5 of them are like 8.59, 9.5, 8.59. Then in the end, he would be marked higher than you because he sent quality documents more number of times. So that's how we aggregate. Like that's in general. That's the same for how we do it for points of information as well.
All right.
So all the speeches are marked. So I'll clear the marking with every one of you. All the speeches are marked separately. And all the speeches are marked separately, individually. They are not aggregated. But your points of information, your documents are aggregated. But the marking for documentation is separate for individual documents and all that. And the final DR is separate.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
fine.
you.
With this, we are ending for today. You guys have to
If
join.
I
Yes,
may
ma'am, you can take over.
interrupt you,
Yes,
apology.
ma'am, you can take over.
We are already at 5:15 and the delegates need to join the link and listen to the keynote speaker through the link. So we may need to wind up a little faster.
Okay, ma'am, we are done from our side. So for us, the committee session for today is over.
So can I close the session?
Yes, sir, you can close the session.
Okay.